An interested young woman observes a wealthy gentleman on the street by his car. She talks to herself about how she could easily change her life by getting involved with him and leave that mean and poor life behind. So, with a plan in mind, she begins to dirty herself with dirt. She lets her hair down, untangles her clothes and runs to the gentleman who was already getting into his car to leave. She bangs on the car window, pretending to be desperate. She says she needs help because she is being chased. The man, frightened, tells her to get in the car. The young woman gets into the car and the man asks her what is wrong. She says she is being chased and is very scared. She tells him to drop her off at her house. Minutes later, the gentleman stops the car in front of her house and asks her if she is okay. The young woman replies that she is fine. She thanks him for the ride and says she doesn't know what would have happened to her if he hadn't helped her. The gentleman tells her to take care of herself and to be careful. He then says he will leave her his business card. He says she can call him anytime if she needs help. The young woman thanks him and smiles. The gentleman says goodbye to her and she hugs him, touching his face intimately. The young woman gets out of the car with a seductive look. The gentleman gets a little carried away with that flirtation. After the man leaves, the young woman says that he is already interested in her. Months later, after a ride, the man gets out of the car and opens the door for the young woman. He takes her by the hand and helps her up. The young woman says he is very gentlemanly. The man says she looks beautiful and hugs her. The young woman says she dressed up just for him. Then a young man in a wheelchair, passing by on the street, sees the young woman and calls out to her. The woman plays hard to get and asks him if he knows the boy. The man asks who the boy is and the young woman says she doesn't know. The young man says he knows him very well because she is his sister-in-law. The young woman asks how long he has known a brat in a wheelchair. The boy says he has since he married his brother. The young woman says the boy is very wrong. She tells him to get out of her way. Then the boy leaves and the woman says she has nothing to do. Later, the woman comes home and fights with the boy. The boy asks her what she wants. The woman asks who told the boy to show up on the street. The boy says he was just passing by. Woman says he didn't need to talk to her. The woman says if the boy does it one more time he will regret it. The boy says he will tell his brother everything. Meanwhile, the gentleman comes home and greets his sister. He asks how his sister is and she says she is fine. The sister asks how her brother is. The gentleman says he has something to tell her. He tells her that his heart is racing and that Cupid has flirted with his heart. The sister, worried, asks him if she is the girl he met on the street recently. The man replies that it is herself. The sister says that she has already warned him that this girl is a gold digger. The man says he doesn't know if the young woman is interested. He says his last relationship didn't work out and he was very lonely. He says he met the young woman and it's good that he's giving it a try. The sister tells the man to open his eyes. She says she warns him that young women only want money from older men. The man says that the sister doesn't know his new girlfriend and that you should get to know people first before you judge them. He says he liked the young woman. The sister tells him to be smart, but the man goes on to say that the young woman is very caring and sweet and that she did super well. Hours later, the boy talks to his brother asking him how his day at work went. The brother says his day at work was exhausting and he only got a few dollars. He says that cleaning cars at stoplights doesn't make much money. The guy starts to say that he has to tell his brother something very serious, but is interrupted by his sister-in-law. The man gets up to greet his wife, but she avoids him. Then the wife says that the boy doesn't have to worry about telling, because she will tell him the truth herself. The woman tells the husband to take a good look at her hand. She says she is engaged to a millionaire man and no longer has to put up with that miserable life. The man, confused, says they can't afford such a ring. The woman says she knows better, so she won't stay with them eating those mean cookies anymore. Man says wife has to understand that they can't afford better cookies. Wife says she doesn't, but now she does. Then she says she will go on her way and the husband tells her to stay with him. He tells her to think about her family. He says he can't do that to them, but the wife says she's had enough. So she leaves. The man cries very sad. The boy goes to comfort his brother. He tells the man not to be sad, that his brother deserves better. He says the woman doesn't deserve it. Months later, the woman and the man get married. The sister watches everything with displeasure. After saying they accept each other, the celebrant says they can sign. The woman signs. The celebrant tells the gentleman to sign. The man looks passionately at the bride before signing. Then he starts to sign, but suddenly feels a pain in his heart. The sister tries to help the man, the bride despairs. The man falls to the ground. The sister kneels down beside him. The bride picks up the paper and pen and says this can't be. She puts the pen in the man's hand and the sister pushes her and calls her a gold digger. But the young woman keeps trying to get the man to sign, tells him to sign soon. The sister says she always knew the young woman only wanted to get married to keep her property. The young woman gets angry, asking if her sister is satisfied yet. The sister says that the young woman only wanted her money and the young woman says that the sister wanted the same. As the two argue, the celebrant tries to wake the man. But suddenly he gets up. The young woman is confused. Then, quickly, she says she's glad he's okay. He asks them to go ahead with the wedding. She tells him to sign the marriage papers soon. The man says they have discovered the young woman's whole charade. He says the young woman is a liar and a fake. The man says that this trip to Paris that the young woman wanted so much is no longer going to happen. So he tears up the plane tickets in front of her. He takes the wedding paper and tears it up too. The young woman screams in despair. The man calls her a gold digger. The young woman becomes hysterical saying this can't be happening to her. The man asks if the young woman really thought her charade was going to last forever. She says she has a special guest at the wedding, her husband. Then he calls her husband and she says she doesn't have a husband. Then her husband and brother-in-law show up. The woman asks what the two are doing there. And she calls them useless. The boy says the only useless one there is her. The young woman says they both look ridiculous in those clothes and are useless even for putting on decent clothes. The gentleman says that the young woman's husband and brother-in-law have told him all about her. That she is greedy and selfish. That she abandoned her hard-working husband just because she is poor. The young woman says that all this can only be the work of the man's sister. She calls the woman a snake. Then the young woman looks at her husband and her brother-in-law. She goes after her husband, trying to be forgiven. But the man tells her to take her hands off him, for she has abandoned him without a second thought. She then tries to go after her brother-in-law, but the gentleman interrupts her by telling her to pay attention. The gentleman says that he will support her husband and work for his company. Then, realizing there is nowhere to run, the young woman knocks over the wedding altar table and leaves, cursing everyone. The gentleman then tells the man that he can't worry because he is going to work for his company. He says he will take care of both of them.